First of all, welcome to all the One Team members. This is not our normal One Team meeting process, but we decided that this was a better approach given the COVID circumstances right now. So we're going to do this Zoom taping for everybody to watch. And the team will, and Katie will address this later, we're going to get together during Hunger Action Month in a way that's far more interactive for the whole group. To all the One Team members I haven't even met yet, and we have a lot of new people that have started and working with us to help us deal with this tremendous challenge that we have. I want to say thank you to all of you and to welcome to all of you. I look forward to being able to get to know you and get to know your names and get the chance to interact with you a little bit. I wish we were gathering under totally different circumstances. I wish we were gathering and that we had conquered this and it was over and we were celebrating the tremendous amount of work that we did. Unfortunately, I think we're more at the beginning of this than we are at the end. We often talk about this is a marathon, not a sprint, in a lot of the write-ups, and I think I've reworded that lately and said it's a marathon, but it's at a sprinter's pace. It feels like everybody's working really hard. Everybody's really stepping up. We're learning a lot, about what's going on with each one of us and the challenges from working from home, the challenges of working in here, the challenges of handling 25 to 30% more food, finding that food, all of those things, getting it a whole new way of operating, almost overnight in terms of a no-touch system, trying to make sure that we can keep everybody safe, this building safe. We're worrying about whether the guard's going to be here, not be here. Making contingency plans upon contingency plans to how we could continue to operate when, our pantry on its busiest days outside serving over 800, families. And so recognizing that, that's going to continue. And I think we had a great board meeting this morning and we, had a nice strategic conversation asking people to share what they were seeing and feeling around the challenges of COVID, either personally or professionally. In terms of their own work, what the economists that they were talking to were saying, so we could get a handle on anything. And I think if there was one word that came out of the whole thing, the future is just totally unpredictable. None of us know. For all of you that have kids and are dealing with the school crisis and are you going, not going, hybrid, whatever you're doing, I feel for you, in terms of the challenges that you have in terms of having to address that or play teacher at home. I think everybody's getting a new appreciation for what teachers do. And that may be a good thing when this is all over. Maybe we'll show a lot more respect for our teachers and pay them better and continue to work with them, to strengthen our children and the opportunities. So we know these are difficult times and they're very, very difficult times. We're gonna pay very close attention to everything that's going on with our team and the work, and you need to be very honest and let us know because each one of us has our own family challenges and we're going to get through those together if we can make sure that we're working together. So I would implore all of you to continue, whether we see you in this building or whether we see you on Zoom calls or whatever. Please understand that we're here to help each other, and I want to really stress that as we go forward, because the work that everybody's doing is nothing short of outstanding and remarkable. I mean, the board is just, I think, blown away by the effort that everybody's put in, how much, we've been able to step up, how we've changed our practices, how we've worked really hard to keep the space safe, everybody in the building safe, how we've worked really hard to deal with the tremendous amount of more food that we're handling, month in and month out. I think the latest numbers say since March, we've had a 17% increase compared to last year in food in the door and a 25% increase in food out the door. There was 36 million pounds of food distributed from March to the end of July. Some other just really high level numbers. Had over almost 500,000 visits from folks to the pantries and distributions that we've done. From March to July, 125,000 unique families, a 13% increase over that same time period a year ago. And the new families, and this is the number that I think is we would expect, but it's startling. That as of yesterday, we were up to 32,000 new families that we have helped. These are families that have never, ever come before in the time that we've been collecting the data, in Pantry Track, which is almost 8 to 10 years in a lot of cases. So these are new families that ever asking for help, and that's the challenge that's going on. And in Franklin County, it's 21,500 of those 32,000. So this is disproportionately affecting Franklin County from the new families, point of view. And it's almost a quarter of all the people we're helping are new. And I think that's, an amazing, thing for all of us to do, but to recognize while those numbers are all big, each one of those numbers, is an individual story, and a challenge. And, heard from the board members about, evictions today, and about, utility companies not, collecting, and recognize there's going to come a day of reckoning, and we're going to need to be there for everybody. And I think that's the key. And the more food we can give out, the more we can convince our partners to do, and hopefully they have the capability and capacity. We had a great call with our partner councils yesterday, just trying to understand and let them share with us what they were seeing from across the counties, and that recognize, and overwhelmingly, the folks that talk just continue to thank all of us. I think that's a tribute to each and every one of you, that are working here side by side, regardless of what your job is. At the end of the day, they overwhelmingly were very, 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 very supportive and thankful for everything that we've been able to do. And it's just taken a load off of them to know that there's food available, assured them there's going to be food available, as we work for the rest of this year. And that was the message to the board today. The good news is, and from the board, they approved our budget finally. We normally do this in May, but we just told them there was no way at the beginning of COVID that we could really predict anything about what our budget was going to be, both on the income side or the expense side. I'm really happy to report we finished the year in an amazingly strong position, financially, and we're set for, the rest, to be able to have a budget this year that we will have the resources we need as we look to whether or not we need to continue to increase personnel depending on guard and volunteer situations as we get through September and December, and what that looks like into the beginning of 2021. And also whether we had enough money budgeted to buy as much food as we think is necessary. Additionally, we're going to continue, and this will be a surprise again to our agencies, but we're going to continue to waive fees that our agencies are paying so we can be even more supportive of them, recognizing many of them have stepped up in a lot of ways, and that their fundraising has slowed. If you're a church or a faith-based organization, you're probably not collecting as much money as you were when everybody was showing up. And recognize that's where they draw a lot of their emergency funds for. So we're going to continue to be really supportive of our partners, thanking them, asking them if they can do more. I mean, one of the concerns we have is, it just shouldn't be business as usual, but if there's an opportunity to do even more so families can access more fresh food during this, then we can alleviate that from, their worries, as an individual family, and recognize there's more food. We can get the food if we can figure out how to get it and distribute it. We received a wonderful grant from Feeding America this time around. Normally we're pretty on the small size of the thing. They give a lot of the smaller food banks the money. This last time we had the 12th highest allocation of the 200 food banks. And then we put all the money towards, alleviating fees and building infrastructure to support our rural communities in the distribution this time, because there's money available, CARES Act money that we've gotten from Franklin County. We got $1.5 million from Franklin County. We're awaiting word from the city's CARES Act money to come in as well. So those dollars, were used restricted to Franklin County. So we took the dollars from Feeding America and said, let's continue to strengthen our network in our other counties. And that's what the dollars are going to be used for, whether it's additional transportation, whether it's refrigeration that we're going to add, tents and things that people need for outdoor, things people are already getting concerned about what cold weather is going to mean to outdoor distributions, and really trying to strengthen some of our key partners in those other counties. So those dollars are there, and the team's working to get those things out that we committed to in the grant process with Feeding America. So we're excited about all of that. I mean, at the end of the day, the good news is we have the resources to continue to do whatever we need to do to meet the demand. And we're going to continue to explore that been a lot of work done on Pantry Track, now called Fresh Track, trying to beef that up. And we hope as we continue to beta test that and get that out to everybody that we'll put the power of scheduling into people's hands at some point here in the near future so that they can look to see where the closest pantry is and set their own appointment when it's convenient for them and their personal situation. It's a total different model than having to show up and or go through the 211 lines and wait on a line for hours or whatever to get an appointment. We're trying to really put this power into individuals' hands, let them control it, work with our partners, and we've got some tweaking to do to the software yet to get it fully actualized. It will also continue to give us a way to do the remote planning and scheduling for these distributions that we're doing, downstairs in the pantry, which has gone up significantly. We're over 800 families last week at one of the days. So it's continued to escalate. It's going back up. That's the numbers we can see in the last couple of weeks. The numbers have continued to climb back up. We're not quite back to April, but we're heading in the wrong direction. And given the $600 expiring for many people that were unemployed, and not sure whether they're going to be pandemic EBT again and whether there's going to be more SNAP money again. I mean, all those things are uncertain. And we're paying very close attention thanks to the team, in agency services and Terry. And, we know we have 101 school districts in our 20 county area. And so the ability to understand what each one of them's doing and where we can partner with them to get more food as they try to figure out how they feed the kids that were on reduced and free meals in each of those districts. So we have a call tomorrow with many of the school district leaders in those areas saying, we're here to help. We've got partner agencies in your county that are there to help. We just need to come up with what is the right strategy in each of your areas to see how we can enhance some of the distributions they're going to try to do to make sure kids get access to those meals, and can we complement that with more fresh produce or some other food. So we're concerned about what's going to happen in January. Both the trade mitigation food, which is all those wonderful garbanzo beans and split peas and frozen blueberries and a lot of other good food, but meat, etc. But all of that food is ending. It's scheduled to end at the end of the year. And it looks like, according to Feeding America yesterday, that CFAP box program, which was the mixed produce and dairy and milk program, is going to end faster. They're going to run out of money faster. They thought it would carry on to the end of the year, and they said they may be out of funds by the end of October. So those boxes are going to start to dry up. So we're planning for whatever we need to plan for starting in January. If we're short, we'll start making additional purchases to bring in more food to make sure it's here to go along with the government food and with all the amazing donations. There could be a lot of donations available in the future as schools don't reopen and as restaurants continue to not open and colleges continue to now look like they're closing again as they continue to have episodes and cases. That there's going to be industry type foods available. So we're going to try to take advantage of any of those opportunities to make sure we can bring that food in and get it to folks. So I'm excited about where we are. Really want to thank everybody. I need to make sure everybody, and we'll talk more and more about this as we go through this, about self-care and everybody taking care of themselves in all of this. The challenges of working from home, if you're home all day long with your spouse and your kids and all that kind of thing, it's a challenge. It's hard to go anywhere to take a vacation because you got to know where to go and how to stay safe. You got to know where to go and how to stay safe just with your daily lives. So I implore all of you to continue to put all of those practices in place as we go forward, because we're in this for a long time. And this is not a short thing that's going to end anytime soon. I don't even know, everybody says get back to normal. It's not going to go back to the way it was under any circumstance. It'll be some level of new normal, and we don't know what that is yet. So in the meantime, we want to make sure that we're taking care of each other, being supportive. And so if you have issues and challenges, if you've got questions, you got ideas, please let us know. I'm going to turn this over and introduce Katie and Comer to you in a second here. But one of the things that and the hiring of Katie, and that I was really adamant about is wanting to get back to our leadership development, our organizational development, our culture building, and most importantly, some of our racial diversity and equity and inclusion work that we were beginning to start and have to pause a couple times. We're absolutely committed to that, and I'm glad to report that even our newest board member leads a lot of that work for Huntington Bank, and a couple of the other board members we're looking at for replacements of people that retired have backgrounds in diversity and inclusion work as well in the corporate world. So we're excited about building a really strong board that's around, you know, these issues, but we're also going to take, you know, a really, you know, concrete step. There's some early work we can do. There's some work we're doing with the old Thrive group. It's called Economic Mobility, around some teaching and history and things that we will engage with, but also that we're going to figure out with Katie and how we do this deeper ourselves and what that looks like for us and our organization, and then what we might be able to do to help teach and impart some of this out to our network as well. So we're deeply committed to that. And addressing, I mean, this country's struggling big time right now. I mean, it's tough enough to deal with the health crisis, but we threw an economic crisis on top of the health crisis, and then an absolute racial tension crisis. And all of those are manifesting at the same time. And we're not good at handling one thing at a time that's that big, let alone three. But it's good that it is, some of that is surfacing, because maybe we'll actually begin to address it in this country. We always say, if you want to end hunger, you got to end poverty. You want to end poverty, you got to end racism. And that's at the end of the day. I had a wonderful opportunity yesterday, and I'm trying to get the copy of the video. It's about 75 minutes long, but some of you know the book White Fragility. We happened to have a session last night. About 2,500 people in this community got to listen to her give, you know, a talk to folks. A group of women here in Columbus brought her to us, and sent out an invitation to a lot of folks, and I hope they video copied that so we can share it. It's a wonderful book, and I think it's probably going to be at the basis. And I was really pleased. You know, I suggested to the board that they read that book, and you know, Amy Gilmore, who's our new board chair, said we read that book at our executive E-team level at IGS Energy and had discussions for weeks about it. So she was imploring all the board members to read it as well. So we're going to begin to create those kind of resources and make them available as we step into these issues. And what does it mean for our work? What does it mean for us personally? Ultimately, what does it mean for us to have a stronger community? With that, I'm going to introduce Katie to you. I'm really pleased that she has joined us. You know, this is an opportunity for us to have she has a funny title, Senior VP, Chief People Officer. But the idea really was around how do we take a lot of the good work that we had previously started in many areas, the leadership development work, the cultural, the values work, and really strengthen that. And to have somebody whose sole job eventually will be, and meantime, she's got a little issue, but meaning they got to replace Craig, and so she's got the search responsibility for finding an HR director, which will take those challenges off of her plate, hopefully, and put them on the HR director's person's plate with her team and Lanai and the others. But really around how do we really step into this work of culture and leadership development for everyone, organizational development. You know, we've got a bold strategic plan. And I'm excited about that opportunity that we have. We're working really hard on the Mid-Ohio market strategy, on the Mid-Ohio farm, the pharmacy, the kitchen strategy, and what that looks like going forward, as well as the tremendous amount of work we're doing with the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. So in that whole collective of assets, there's a lot of great work going on. And we're excited about the opportunity to do all that. But in order to do all that, we truly have to strengthen ourselves. And to have Katie on board, who comes to us via Cardinal Health and Chase and her own consulting practice, is steeped in a lot of this work, and we're excited to have her on board to lead this. I mean, when Kim was leading this, you know, she had many other jobs, you know, that have to deal with, and to have somebody to say, no, we're going to focus on this, you know, with somebody of Katie's talent, and to do this full time is something that I really brings a lot of excitement to me as we go forward, because we're going to live in some really difficult times, and we've got to be very honest and trustful, and we're willing to have difficult conversations as we move forward. What does all that look like, so that we can strengthen ourselves to really stay as strong as this community needs us to be in order to lead this work. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie, and here she is. She's been a wonderful addition already for us. We're glad to have her, and we're looking to have a lot more time in terms of how we spend time on these wonderful opportunities that we have. Katie?
Thanks, Matt. So everyone, first, it's a pleasure to meet you virtually. I am delighted to be a part of the One Team here. In my approximately 12 or 13 days here, I continue to remain so impressed and encouraged and motivated by everyone's hard work to really advance the mission of this organization and to help our communities. And it is an honor to be a part of this team to do this great work. And so in addition to what Matt said, again, really delighted to continue to enhance the culture. And as he joked around and said, this is a funny title, Chief People Officer, you're probably wondering, really, what does that mean? And it really is truly a focus on all of our one team members here as a top priority, because in order for us to meet the mission and advance the mission of the organization, each of us actually has to take the responsibility of taking care of ourselves. And that's where the well-being and the wellness resources come into play, because it's critical. We won't be as good as we need to be to others if we're no good to ourselves. And it's just like a car, you know, if you run on fumes and you wait till the tank gets to reserve, at some point the car may not function at the level that it should. And that's the same thing that happens for each of us as individuals. And so for us, as we continue to navigate through this quite unique time, I would like to encourage each of you, one, to slow down and pause and know that all of us are navigating through this together. You are not alone. So if you're working from home or if you're working on site and you feel frustrated or you feel overwhelmed due to things that, you know, maybe related to the work or just battling through COVID, please reach out to your direct supervisors. Reach out to your E-team members, reach out to human resources, reach out and leverage our employee assistance program resources, and HR can give you more details around that. But it's critical that we reinforce the importance of using these resources because they're here to ensure your well-being and give you an opportunity to focus on self-care. Like Matt said, you know, staying at home with kids and family members, you know, when I'm at home working with my husband, he gets very passionate on calls and it can sometimes not be very good for me. And it's not the best place for me to get work done. And so whatever those things are for you, just know that we have that at the top of our radar. As Matt mentioned this morning, we are so grateful to have the leadership of our board directors who have provided us with invaluable insight and strategies and tactics as to how we can put together the best plan forward to ensure that we can navigate through this time together successfully and make it through the pandemic, emerging better and stronger. And one of the key traits that I'll, you know, encourage each of us to focus on is being resilient. At times, we don't really understand how strong we are until we are faced with a moment of crisis, a situation that helps to strengthen that and reveal that in our lives. And so I'm really delighted on behalf of the E-team, on behalf of Matt, on behalf of the board of directors to really just not only talk about the importance of well-being, but to encourage you all and highlight the work that you're doing and to reinforce that we are here for you during this time. Resources are available. And I'm stressing that because I want you to know that we are here to make sure that you are successful. In addition to what Matt said, we will have a variety of resources coming to you in the future that will focus on not only enhancing our culture, but really creating a workplace where everyone can come to work, whether it's physically or even virtually, and bring their whole self, their full self to work. And that's where the important diversity, equity, and inclusion work comes in. And so it will be a shared responsibility across the board, Matt, the E-team, myself, and all of you, where we will advance the one team by collectively working on this together. And I feel confident that we'll be able to do that once we have a plan in place. Additionally, going back to the wellness resources, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And if you have any concerns around COVID, any exposure or things like that, please reach out to Michelle Gerke on our team. She has provided a host of talking points for me to share, and I'm going to be looking at them to make sure I share this accurately, since this is a very critical information. So one, we want to first recognize the efforts of our essential staff who are coming on site, and that we have resources when you're here to be safe. So in the event that you arrive and you don't have your mask and you don't have some of the things that you need, please stop by the HR office or at the front desk and let them know, and we will provide those resources for you so that you can be safe while you're here doing this critical work. And for those of you who are at home, we will be also working on a surprise, which will actually go out to everyone, but we want to let you know that we have resources for you as well to get the work done. And one of the things Matt said, as we know, is with this unpredictable time, is that with our workforce, we'll continue to think about what is the plan to keep everyone safe. And so right now we're looking at keeping everyone home through the end of December, and we'll probably continue to revisit that early January, depending on what we're seeing in the market, what we're seeing with cases, and of course, reassuring you that our number one focus is to keep everyone safe while we're doing this critical work. So beyond those remarks that I wanted to share around well-being, I also want to tell you that for September, we will actually have a fantastic one-team meeting planned for you. It's going to be late September, and stay tuned for the details, the invitation to hold on your calendar. But this will be a great time for all of us across the organization to come together to celebrate our hard work and recognize one another. And we have some cool things planned. So I won't spill the news. I won't give you a sneak peek. You have to wait and dial in for it so that you can enjoy this experience with us. And so on behalf of the E-Team again, I thank you so much for the hard work that you're doing. Thank you for advancing the mission and helping to alleviate hunger across our footprint. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this great work, because I'm joining shoulder to shoulder with each of you to continue with all of what we're doing. And so Matt, I'll turn it back over to you if you have any closing remarks, and then I can share a few things before we end.
Okay, thanks, Katie. And just a couple other things around COVID that I think are important. Some shout outs to some people that did amazing work. You know, one of the beauties is we raised a lot of money, and, you know, and a lot of food banks across the country raised unprecedented amounts of money. We are taking a very long view with that in terms of, you know, we have a $4.5 million budget approved today as a $4.5 million deficit in it. But because we had the dollars raised beforehand, we're able to offset that deficit and still have money carried over to the fiscal year after that. So the idea is that we were going to stretch those private dollars that were raised, because this is not a short-term issue. When they said use it for COVID, we recognize that may be a multi-year process. And so we're being we gave the board a worst case scenario budget today where we may buy as much as $11 million worth of food in that budget, and they approved it where it was only at 5.8 last year. So we've got the dollars if in fact things don't come from federal government, don't come from the other sources, to be in the marketplace and to acquire the resources we need. We greatly enhanced our basically our personnel budget, depending on what the outcome of, you know, some of the guard issues are and our ability, you know, to bring in. It's like 2,700 volunteer hours per week that are needed to maintain what we currently are doing. So as those things, we'll have the ability to adjust depending on the circumstances there. I really want to shout out, you know, to the development team that processed all that. I had about an 8 to 10 inch stack of thank you letters on my desk when I got back in here after taking a couple of days off last week. And so I was realized that's a lot of work by somebody, and a lot more work to do because that's all had to go in an envelope and get mailed out. You know, but it's that kind of, you know, all the work that's gone to bring in the dollars, to talk to the donors, to process what's come in. Very appreciative of all that happening, because it doesn't happen without a lot of conscious effort and accuracy and things that we're doing. So very grateful for that. You know, another shout outs to the kitchen team. You know, I just want to say thank you to them. You guys have adjusted to all kinds of things. You know, we were fortunate to keep a kitchen team on when the places they were cooking for were closing. And so we kept them on, got asked to help the homeless shelters. And I think the numbers are here, something like 270,000 meals have been prepped and delivered and distributed by the team without help, with some of the help of the National Guard as well since March. That was a big step up. You know, we're making sure we feed everybody in here so we don't have people having to run out and get lunch. The Guard gets taken care of. You know, we're very grateful to have them, and so we want to make sure they're well taken care of. But we've delivered food to a lot of different homeless that didn't have, as they decentralized the shelters. You know, the team stepped up and cooked a lot of meals. We just are completing the summer feeding program, which again was different, but they stepped up and did that. Even when we had a COVID case and we thought we were going to have to close down, that team adjusted almost immediately and didn't miss a beat in terms of addressing meals, you know, with the help of the Guard in that particular case as well. So it's a real big shout out to them. Even the SNAP team, you know, as all this is, I'm not supposed to have, you know, trying to keep social distancing. They've done something like 1,647 SNAP applications in the last few months, which really equates to about $3.5 million of SNAP benefits to those individuals. So for all the, you know, those are the kinds of things that everybody's been stepping up and doing, figuring out how to take over when, you know, a senior center can't distribute CFSP boxes, and how we still get them out to there in some of our outlying counties. The extra 27,000 boxes we packed up, many of those are going out to our rural counties as well. So there's been all across the organization, a lot of stepping up. I think our pantry has done something like 36,543 visits since March. I mean, it is an amazing amount of work that's gotten done by teams. So everybody pitching in is making those kinds of numbers a reality, and realizing at every one of the end of those is some family that's getting help somehow, some way. So to all of you that are stepping up to do all of that and pitch in across the entire organization, we truly say thank you. And I think that for me is really what a lot of this is about. And I just want to reemphasize something Kadian said, and we've made a decision not to bring anybody back. You know, we talked about that with the board meeting today. And really we're taking lessons from them. They started back up and have pulled back. We've already seen universities pull back and go back to virtual. So we've taken the things that we're not going to change anything we're doing through the rest of this calendar year. And somewhere in the next quarter, as we continue to get more and more information, we will then make adjustments and decide what 2021 looks like. So just want to make sure people are to know that we're going to keep the status quo in terms of what's going on. If you have challenges, please let us know so that we can help to address some of those if possible. So really want to emphasize that throughout all of this. So, but again, it's just a thank you to everybody. I mean, I really, the amount of accolades that we get, the stories that are hard to get now because we don't get to talk to the customers that we used to, but the people that are coming back in that are so appreciative, and the work and the fact that we've got a great reputation in this community for saying yes. And I just think that's a credit to all of you. When somebody says, hey, we got a challenge, call the food bank, and they'll figure out a way to get it done. And I think you guys have stepped up and done that. Hats off to the transportation team who's just continuing to step up over and over again. Patrick and your team down there just are doing a great job. And we're trying to improve the equipment. So as we continue to do this, that's the beauty of some of this, is we get the ability to improve some of our infrastructure. So we've taken advantage of the offers that have come in that space as well. But to all of you, thank you very much. I look forward to a celebration. It's Hunger Action Month, so we'll have a good celebration. I'll let them plan all that in terms of what that's going to look like. But I'm really excited about the opportunity, and I hope there's some day. I live in a world right now, and people say, how do you deal with this? And I said, well, I live in a world of planning that's in a disaster kind of thinking mode that says, what do you need to be doing right now? What's coming up next? What's in the near term? And what's the new look like? And we've coined a better phrase, what's a new better look like? So that means so much across the entire community, and that may be a while before we get to that. So we're going to live in kind of segmenting. And I would add that one of the things I forgot to mention from the board is, we've mentioned this already, some of you have been actively involved in this, is we're embarking on a $30 million campaign. It's in its quiet phase. So we kind of got information, but we're not out publicly talking about it, but we are out having a lot of conversations. So it's kind of like semi-public, I guess, in the sense of that, but they really don't go public till a certain amount of dollars are raised. But our leadership team is, Kurt Walker and his wife Cindy from Nationwide, Nick Akins and his wife Donna from AEP, and Steve Steinauer and his wife Patty from Huntington. Both Nick and Kurt were on our board before. They've all stepped up. All these CEOs have stepped up, and they are gung-ho and ready to go. So they're going to keep our team really busy. Jared and Emily and the team really busy, and I think me going to and getting on probably a lot of Zoom calls to talk to the community about our campaign and why it's so important. And they are jazzed. So it really gave us an energy. Everybody's like, can you do this in this kind of times? And for those of you who were around a long time ago, the last time we had the Great Recession was when we kicked off the campaign to build the building we're in. So we got experience in dealing with this during downtimes. But at the same time, I think we've got a real energy level from those outside leaders and their wives who really want to step up and help us be successful, recognizing, if anything else, this type of crisis, points to how important we are to the whole situation of food insecurity for so many thousands of our families. So that's happening as well. So we're going to be really busy over the course of time with new numbers and new work, and 25% more. We're planning on that level of distribution for a long time. So we're gearing up to continue to do that. And it's going to take all of you, and go back to what Kadian said, it's, this has to start with self-care from all of us first. If we don't take care of ourselves, it's not going to work. And so we will continue to try to see what we can do as a company. We're learning. We've even asked that of our board today. Please inform us as you're learning what it means to work from home, as you're learning, what to do with folks that have additional challenges of childcare and other issues. How do we step in and help? What does that look like? How do we take a more proactive approach to that? You know, all of us at the end of the day got to take good care of our mental health, because if we don't, you know, and it's going to, you know, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle as individuals, as families, and ultimately, you know, it's going to show up in our work and our inability to deliver on what our customers truly need. So thank you all very much. Keep up the great work. I wish I could see every one of you face to face individually. And for those I don't know yet, I look forward to getting to know you and your families. So thank you. And I'll turn it back to Katie.
Thanks, Matt. So again, in addition to the shout outs that Matt shared, and again, reminding everyone about the importance of self-care and wellness, if you have any questions while you're at home about anything COVID related, feel free to reach out again to Michelle on our safety and safety team. And if you have questions around resources for mental health and full well-being, contact myself, contact Lanaya, and we'll be delighted to provide answers to your questions, and again, providing that level of support. I encourage you, again, doing check-ins with your teammates when you guys are on calls, when you're on shifts. Just ask your teammates how they're doing and show that you care, because I know that you truly do. And so as we wrap up, on behalf of Marilyn over marketing, communications, government affairs, and voluntary management, on behalf of Emily over development, Nick over IT, strategy, and innovation, and Brad, Dave, and Rob over operations, and Arvin, who is managing our finances and keeping us healthy and whole to steward the resources, and also Darlene, who is the glue to keep us together. We'd like to thank you for listening into this message, and we hope that this is helpful, and we look forward to connecting with you all in September for our next One Team meeting. Thank you all, and have a great day.